As always, it is my pleasure that you join me for today's podcast of Second Chance Coaching. My name is Dr. Richard Lewis. If you'd be so kind as to leave me a rating and your feedback, I would very much appreciate it, and it will help others like you to optimally discover this podcast wherever you listen to this and your other favorite podcast. As you know, at Second Chance Coaching, we focus on seeing everyday life through the eyes of the returning citizen and highlighting the resiliency of the human spirit. I would love to work with you one-on-one, whether you're a returning citizen or coaching client seeking your second chance, or you're a representative of a business, college, or university seeking to integrate and support returning citizens in your respective organizational and learning environments. Please feel free to contact me via email at richard@secondchancecoaching.com or via Instagram at the Dr. Richard Lewis. Welcome again to another edition of Second Chance Coaching. As always, it is my pleasure to join you on another week of your reentry journey from whichever corner of this wonderful world you're listening from. I'm sorry that I was missing a week last week. It was just really a crazy week, and I think it kind of ties into what we're going to be talking about today, about overachieving and running around and trying to catch up to yourself. And I want to start off by saying that, right now, part of what was going on was really a couple of things. Number one, scheduling, running around. There's a lot of things going on at the college as far as, work is concerned, and we're between our short terms. We're halfway through the term. And then one of my good friends, that I grew up with, who lives in Atlanta, his mother passed away last week, and I wanted to definitely show him a lot of love, show him a lot of concern, and really, I just was feeling for him. I could tell you that one of the worst things that I've seen anybody go through in life is when a son loses his mother. I've definitely gone through it. I've seen friends of mine going through it, and now that one of my best friends, he has gone through it, the trio of best friends that we have, all three of us have lost both of our parents. And, I'm happy that I'm going to be able to spend some time with him and go see him during his mother's funeral services this week and really just show him a lot of love. That being on my mind, of course, knowing him for so long, I knew his mother as well. So certainly it was hard to hear, and I spent a lot of time thinking about his mom and thinking about, us growing up and things of that nature. It just gets you to that place where you just start to think about all that kind of stuff, and you just kind of get overwhelmed. And then it's not that I didn't want to sit there and record with you guys, but before I realized, it was like, oh, wow, it's time to record, I just wasn't ready to record. And the other thing is, like I said, going back to the college, we're officially 50% completed with the term. Our terms are broken up into 3 different parts. Well, really 4 different parts. We have classes that last for all 16 weeks. We have classes that last the first 8 weeks, classes that last the last 8 weeks, and classes that take place the middle 12 weeks. So right now, we're at the halfway point. We got 8 more weeks of instruction and things that we got going on. And then we're on Christmas holiday break. I mean, I can't even believe it. Can you believe it? In just a short amount of time, we'll be listening to Christmas music again, Christmas carols and things of that nature. I was actually looking at even the concert celebration. I love going to the Dave Koz holiday tour, the smooth jazz tour that Dave Koz does most years. And he usually has stops through Florida, and he's going to be stopping through Miami. So I'm going to see if I could try to make it out there this year. But going back to what we're doing at the college, before we get to that place, during these next 8 weeks, and in the midst of those 8 weeks, we'll have Thanksgiving, so that'll be a good break because I'll get to see the family. A lot of the family are coming down here for Thanksgiving. But for us, during the next 8 weeks, it'll be a whirlwind of work and school, requests from extra credit from students, and then even really starting to get ourselves ready and preparing for next semester. There's a new class that I'm going to be starting to teach next semester, and it looks like we're going to have enough enrollment to teach that class, so I'm excited about that. But during these next 8 weeks, so many functions of the college, even different departments, no matter which department I talk to that are on their own islands, they have their own level of chaos that takes place. And then all of a sudden, when the holiday break comes, it just gets really, really quiet. Now, it could be hectic, maybe in part because no matter what function of the college we work in, the students need us. They know that during the Christmas break, we're pretty much going to be offline. But in recent years, even during the break, we've had limited services to keep the students supported and uplifted during the holiday break because, the holidays could be tough. I mean, a lot of times the mark of Halloween coming up could be the start of thinking through the fall holiday season, and that could be tough for a lot of people. But I would say in these last 8 weeks, I'm already starting to see that there are some students who are putting in more effort, they're working harder, and even sending more aggressive emails about extra credit. But even the students I have in these 8-week classes, the ones that just started, I see they're starting off to be the best they can be, and they seem to be working in overdrive. And that overdrive is even spreading to me and a lot of my teaching colleagues. One of my colleagues shared with me just today that we were talking about a proposal that we want to do study abroad. We want to do study abroad in the United Kingdom next year. And we were talking about putting in that application and the things that entails. And we were talking about how we have so much on our plates, that our schedules have completely kind of overtaken us. And I told them that's happened to us. And I could speak for myself, and I think he could say the same thing. We just have not said no to projects. We have not said no to projects, and certainly not said no to any extra pay opportunities. And he was telling me, he said, yeah, we haven't said no to these extra pay opportunities because life is just getting expensive. I told him, yeah, I remember, going to Target, you can actually get a good amount of things and not really feel like you lost your whole wallet. Those days are over right now. At least that's what's happening right now. But between the students and colleagues and myself, we're all getting caught up in really possibly when you have all this stuff going on, you possibly could get caught up in the unhealthy cycle of overachieving, and people say overachieving, how does that happen? I mean, well, when you're working hard and you're really hitting the wall and you're going hard in the paint, you could really set yourself up to get into a pattern of overachieving. And when we talked about that, and I was observing what was going on around me, this really made me think of the beginning of my reentry journey when overachieving was really, really present. And it almost made me miss those beginning days of my reentry journey. Not because I wanted to relive that or relive on being under parole, but just relive that. I look back on it now and it just seemed like it was just a simpler time. There was less to handle. And of course I remember the love I had that was present with my mom and my sister and all of us being together. But why was I thinking that overachieving was ever present in the beginning of my reentry journey, and why would this be? And I was thinking that when you first come home, and I don't know if I'm unique. I don't think I'm unique in this as far as returning citizens who've come home. Like when you first come home, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy that you're trying to get out. There's a lot of things that you want to do, and you're trying to overachieve. Sometimes you're trying to overachieve to satisfy your probation or parole officer, to make sure that they stay off, that they are happy, stay off your back, or whatever the case may be. And even more so, at least in my case, you want to prove to family and friends and loved ones that the thing that you're going through right now was indeed a mistake. It's an anomaly. This is not who you are. And the comeback that you're going to be doing is going to be coming sooner than later. Now, does it mean that being an overachiever is a bad thing? We're saying today to stop being an overachiever. Not necessarily. It's not a bad thing, but I would think that just an unhealthy application of overachieving will certainly be harmful. Now, going back once again, and I think of my initial reentry journey, I wanted to demonstrate safety, security, and reliability to my family, especially to my mother, my children, my sister, and of course, as well as my niece. I wanted them to know that, you know, all the things that I was doing towards being out, staying out, and doing well, and not only surviving but thriving while I'm out. I wanted them to not worry about me. I wanted them to feel like, you know what, he's doing what it is that he has to do to do well. And a lot of that, I said, okay, I'm gonna put in that extra effort. I'm gonna burn that midnight oil with whatever I was doing and whatever I had to do at the time to make sure that they felt okay with where I was, and I felt that even though I was gone for a short amount of time, I felt like I had to catch up to myself. I had to catch up to the time in which I missed. So when I was thinking about this topic about overachievement, I researched online about what makes one an overachiever. We hear that phrase a lot of times, like what makes you an overachiever? And the things that I found, there was about 8 things that I found about what makes you an overachiever. And I could tell you when I looked at it, all of these signs really spoke loud and clear to me. Specifically and clearly, it pointed to the behavior of overachiever that was defined in me, especially in those early reentry days. And let me share a couple of them with you. Number one, here's how you know you're an overachiever. Number one, you're only focused on the outcome. When I first got home and I was on parole, the only thing I was thinking of, I want to get to 2005 and finish parole. That was everything I was doing was designed towards that, to really get to the end of that road, and I could truly feel free. Number two, you know you're an overachiever when you're a perfectionist. I had to be perfect. I wanted to make sure that I was perfect in everything I did, that I was beyond reproach. I was giving myself no grace and mercy to make mistakes. I wanted to be the ultimate person to get to hit that shot 10 times out of 10 because I wanted to sit there and prove the doubters wrong. And of course, the people I love could feel better that, yeah, they don't have to worry about me. Number three, you know you're an overachiever when you often criticize yourself. Maybe there's no much difference today, but certainly back then, I was definitely my harshest critic, my hardest critic. Once again, no grace, no mercy. I had to be bigger, stronger, faster, and than everyone, and I had to do it always. So if I came up short, I was criticizing myself. If I came up short, I was like, what was I doing? If I came up short, I wasn't being good enough. If I came up short, I was opening the door to being violated, and I did not want that to happen. And that goes into number four. You're an overachiever when you're overly worried about the future. And you're always thinking about what if, what bad stuff could happen. What if I get violated? What if something happens that I'm not particularly happy about? What if this happens? What if that happens? It really could take a toll on you. And number five, you're an overachiever if you work beyond your capacity. I had that in first, last out attitude. I wanted to work harder, almost to the point of burning myself out, as a way of making me feel non-expendable. Like no, my family's not going to want to replace me. I know that sounds crazy, you being replaced, but I said I didn't want my family to replace me. I didn't want somebody I was dating to replace me. I just wanted to be not as non-expendable as possible. And then of course that leads us to number six. You're an overachiever when you're prone to emotional outburst. There's so many things going on, so much pressure that's taking place. It leaves you vulnerable. Even now, like when I was talking to my teaching colleague about all the things that we have on our plate, I see myself, when the students are, they're trying to push the envelope a little bit. I see myself, I'll get a little testy with them, and maybe not testy to the point that they deserved it, but it didn't take long to get to that surface to pluck my nerve, and then my reaction was a little emotional. Number seven, you're an overachiever when you tend to do everything at once. You want to demonstrate you could walk, chew gum, and balance life all at the same time. That's what you're definitely an overachiever when you sit there and tend to do that. And then the last thing, you're an overachiever when you're motivated by your fear. I have a friend of mine that always talks about, oh, well, I don't want to make decisions out of fear. But, none of us do. At least I know I don't. But I was being an overachiever because I'm motivated by fear. I was fearing to fail, fearing to disappoint my mother, fearing to disappoint my children. I didn't want them to not be proud of me, fearing to disappoint my sister and my niece, fearing to disappoint my family, fearing to sit there and tell the haters, I told you so, that's who Richard is. I was afraid of that. And I was always motivated by that. And then later on in my reentry journey, I could say that I think I might have mentioned there was at one point that I was dating someone that was working on their doctorate at the same time that I was getting my doctorate. No, no, she was getting her doctorate. I wasn't getting my doctorate. I got my doctorate much later on, but she was getting her doctorate and she was busy, and I wasn't as busy in my career as I am now. And I felt like to just compete, I just had to sit there and pretend like I was busy, be more of an overachiever, act like an overachiever, and put a lot of energy into different things. So so as she is moving up and becoming and having a doctorate, then I could feel like I was a worthy partner because I didn't feel like getting a doctorate was going to be something I was going to do at that particular point in time. And as I was thinking about, and as I think going through, like I said, these last 8 weeks about overachieving, about doing a lot of different things to try to make sure that you're getting the job done, and not only getting the job done, but you want to be recognized that you're getting the job done in excellence. Is that you know the unhealthy dynamic of overachieving really could be harmful. So you have to kind of notice those signs when you're being an overachiever, and then also take a look and saying, is this overachievement, being a little hard, to make, is it an unhealthy balance that I'm striking to try to do well and try to prove things to myself and try to prove things to others. And and I think that when I was in that relationship, I was like, well, I want to prove that I'm busy. I want to prove that I'm worthy. I want to prove that I'm worth something. I want to prove that all my time is not dedicated to her or my spare time. I wanted to make sure that I was somewhat unavailable, as there were times that she was unavailable. I was like, no, I want to make sure that, if I'm doing a lot of different things, she could say, okay, well, Richard's worth something. He's busy. But when you think about also overachieving, how do you stop being an overachiever? Not so much like you don't want to sit there and hustle and take it to the house and do well and all the things that I talked about, but how do you want to make sure that you stop being an overachiever while trying to really achieve a healthy balance of what's going on in your life? And there are three things, I want you to think about as far as to make sure that, when you're feeling anxious, you feel like you're really driving and being an overachiever, and you're saying, okay, how do I consider a healthy social, mental, emotional balance and things of that nature? The literature tells us there are three things that one should do. Number one, consider your goals. When you start setting your goals, when we're going through the perfectionist stage and all that stuff, ask ourselves, why is each of these goals important? Is it something I care about? How will I feel when I'm done with it? Is it a realistic goal? Are these things those are things that you want to consider? Number two, engage in self care. If you're going to work hard, play hard, or relax hard, take frequent breaks, reward yourself, do something each day that'll boost your well being, exercise, go to the beach, do something that makes you say, okay, you know what? This is a good look, and this is helping me out a whole lot. And the last but not least, the thing that really speaks to my soul as far as achieving that balance is to reconnect with your loved ones. I called my sister the other day because there was a lot of different things that were going on. And then I was trying to sit there and set up when she comes for Thanksgiving that we'll do a family picture and all that other stuff. And I was going to text her. And I was like, I won't text her. I'll give her a call while she's at work. My sister picks up the phone right away. And she goes, oh, I thought something was wrong. So the first thing I said to her was, hey, everything's good. I'm not in a bad place. We're good. I was just calling you about this, that, and the third. And it wasn't necessarily that I had to speak to her, but I just wanted to reconnect with her. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted to hear how she was doing. I wanted her to hear my voice. I wanted her to feel uplifted if there was something going on in that regard. I wanted to maintain and solidify and sustain our healthy and solid social connection, and I wanted to make that time to let her know that she, even though I didn't tell her that in the phone call. I wanted her to let her know that, you were important enough not only to get in contact with, but more than just text, you were important enough for me to call you, to connect with you, and to really hear how you were doing. And that was just such a great part of my day. Well, that's pretty much it for this week. But listen, remember, if you're going to be an overachiever, but have a healthy balance in it, and understand where you're coming up as far as being an overachiever and what do you have to do to achieve that healthy balance. I'm going to be heading on a plane this weekend and seeing my good friend. The three of us are going to get together and really, cry with him, for the death of his mom, uplift him to think about the happy memories of his mom, love on him, hug him, make sure that he's okay, at least make sure that he's a little better as he goes through this initial journey of being used to what life will be like without his mother. So one thing for sure I want him to feel is that love, because when Anamdi died, my brothers were there. When my mother died, my brothers were there. And I want him to know that we, as his brothers, we're there for him too. And we're here for you as well. Sorry that I missed that week, but we won't be gone long. We won't be taking those breaks. We won't be taking those breaks again. Anyway, thank you so much for everything that you guys do. Thank you for joining us again for another week of Second Chance Coaching. Continue to sit there and do well, be well, take care of yourself, and we'll catch up again next week. Thank you again for joining us here at Second Chance Coaching. In addition to coaching services for individuals and businesses, I'm also available for speaking engagements and workshops on criminal justice reentry, human resources, as well as organizational culture and leadership. Feel free to email me at richard@secondchancecoaching.com, as well as connect with me on Instagram at @DrRichardLewis. Remember, every day you are given this opportunity for your second chance, and I know you'll make the best of it. I love you all, and I look forward to connecting with you next time here at Second Chance Coaching.